And today we are talking about emotional mastery and how we can use the superconscious to manage our emotions, to have a better understanding what our emotions mean, how to navigate the field of emotions that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And I think this is super helpful to so many people. I'm just going to wait a little bit until maybe a few people come online. There is a reason why I'm doing this topic today, and it's quite exciting, is that in Creatosphere, over the next month, we are going to be focusing specifically on our emotions, and emotional mastery. We're going to be looking at different emotions and how they affect us and how we can manage it and transmute into higher states of consciousness, higher states of being. We're going to be looking at Dr. David Hawkins' consciousness map, which I'm going to show you today in this session. So we're going to go deep in that. So that's something really exciting that Michelle, Julie, Jackie, and myself are going to be posting on Creatosphere Collective. If you're not part of that group, please join. I will put it in the link below. I'm sure that you're part of that, but if you're not, I'll put it in the link below so you can join that group and be part of this emotional mastery creation. We're going to do a whole month on going deep into emotions, and then we're going to do 7 days intensive where we teach you how to transmute, transcend, and be a master of your emotions and understand why we feel the way we do, how we can transmute it, how we can use our emotions to our best advantage, and how we can understand what that means to us as we get to know ourselves. So one of the real and true aspects of the human journey is to know thyself. And I think there's a quote from Socrates that says, "Know thyself is the key to wisdom." And it is true, like when we know who we are, when we're not being reactive to our emotions, when we can understand where they're coming from, what their true meaning is, and how we can use that to create a life that we love, we are moving into mastery. And that is the whole journey. That is what we're here for, is to move into a place of mastery in our life, where we can manage our emotions, where we can create a life that we love, where we can start to understand why we do what we do, why we think what we think, why we believe what we believe. When we have that understanding and awareness, that's when true magic can happen. And we can alchemize the emotions that may have kept us stuck, or maybe have put us into fright, freeze, or fragmented. And we can understand and we can learn how to move through those and keep connected to our end result, keep connected to what we are truly trying to create. So as always, moving into being a creator, not solving the problem. Not being a problem solver, not being a victim, but moving into the state of creation. And everything that happens in our life has attributes that will help us move into that special place. So the topic today, emotional mastery. So let me talk about emotions. So I've got my notes here. So if you have emotional mastery, then it's a key to freedom. It's a key to freedom. Our emotions can be like a prison to many of us, people that suffer from depression, anxiety, or other issues. Their emotions can be an absolute prison to live within. So when we become a master of our emotions, when we understand what they're about and we don't make it about our identity, we can truly create, and we can transcend that negative frequency or that negative emotion. So what is an emotion? An emotion is energy in motion. It's moving energy. And how do our emotions come about? Well, this is on a couple of different layers, which I'll try to explain in the most succinct way today, or clear way. So emotions are our reaction to our environment. Our emotions are how we see our environment, and we're reacting to the emotion is how we react to what our belief systems are, and it's also a reaction to our identity. Our emotions become the lens that we see our reality through. So let me know if that lands with you. Let me know if that makes sense. Our emotions is the lens that we see our reality through, and it is what helps create the reality. It's our emotions are a frequency. So when Dr. David Hawkins, if you're not familiar with his work, there's a book called Power versus Force. And also he does another book, The Map of Consciousness. Really amazing work that he did, where he measured emotions to a frequency. And we've all heard frequency, vibration. When I've done the Hermetic principles, we've talked about that we are vibration. Everything is frequency, everything is vibration. And our emotions set our emotional set point, our frequency. So if we are feeling joyous, if we're having a wonderful day, that affects our reality. We will see things differently. You know, things that maybe would not have bothered us when we're feeling joyful, things that may have bothered us in the past, maybe we can just let it go. When we're in states lower frequency or dense states of emotion, for example, shame, guilt, grief, depression, anger, we are more contracting, and we will see the world through that lens. It'll be difficult to see love, to have empathy for someone when you're in a state of anger. It's difficult to move into that higher state of being when we are in a place of shame or self-loathing, and we will make everything about our identity. So our emotions are how we see the reality, and it dictates how we navigate our way through, especially if we're living unconsciously, if we're living in the lower mind. If we're living contractionally in the lower mind, we will make it about our identity, we'll make it about ourselves, and our emotions will dictate how we see our reality. Now, how we transmute that and how we understand what the emotion is like there are belief systems that we have that we put into place that created how we see the world, how we see ourselves, how we see others, and how we see the world. There's three parts: how we see ourselves, how we see others, and how we believe others see us, which is self, and how we see the world. So we may have a belief that the world isn't safe. So your emotions will be probably in fear or grief, or, you know, that the world isn't safe, and you will be navigating through that emotional set point. And this will affect how you can create, this will affect how you see the world and the experiences that you're going to have. So then we go back to, I want to share a screen with you when we're talking about, we've talked about this before, and I want to go into, that's not it. Hopefully you can see that screen. So this is our human journey. So let's start from the beginning. And this is where Superconscious has to do with our emotional mastery, because our Superconscious is where we can transcend emotions, where we can understand why we feel what we do. So many of us are driven by how we feel. And we believed and this is the false premise, is that yes, the emotions feel real, but are they true? They feel real. Of course, they feel real in our body, in our experience. And you can say, well, this terrible thing happened to me and made me feel this way. But how you see that situation could be very different to how someone who has a different belief system will see that situation. They might be able to see it with a more optimistic view, or vice versa, you may see something with a more pessimistic view. Someone who has the belief that the world is not safe will be constantly on guard and living from a place of fear. So their emotional set point will be always moving from that place. So let's start from the beginning. When we are born, when spirit is born, when we're born, we are born pure creative spirits. When we decide to come here, we are born pure creative spirits. And that is where we're connected. So let me be clear. When we're born, we're pure creative spirits and we are connected to superconscious. We are superconscious. And as I've said before, if we go back to this chart, conscious, unconscious, superconscious. Superconscious is the unlimited version of ourself. You may call it God self. You may call it your source, your divine spark, as I like to call it. We are born from that place. This is where we begin, and this is who we truly are. And part of the human journey is to actually come back to remember that we are unlimited, that we are divine sparks, that we are expressions of the divine superconscious. So we are born from that place. And through afterbirth, we go through what is described by Jung, I think, is individuation. So in that first 7 years, we go through the wounding, the human wounding. We go through the conditioning of life through our parents, through our experience, through our siblings or who our caregivers are. We create how we see the world, we create how we see ourselves, and we create a perspective of how we see others. And this is where our identities are created. And obviously during life, they become stronger in those beliefs and identities. And it is during this time that we create beliefs. Now, remembering this conditioning, this belief structure that we create between 0 and 7 are from a child's point of view, from how we see the world from a child's eyes. So, for example, if you are a child and you're born into a family and you are the center of the attention, because children are meaning-making machines. They have to create meaning on how they fit into the world. And let's say that your parent, your father, goes to work and you feel grief and sadness around that. You will create a belief around that to identify how you fit in. Well, maybe it's that I'm not good enough. My father's leaving me, or I'm not good enough for him to stay, or I'm not worthy. So you may have or it could be a core belief of like feeling unseen, or I'm not important. There could be that about feeling not capable. You may have an older sibling who seems to be doing things much better than you, and you believe, well, I'm not capable. But when we have conscious awareness and understand it, your belief is actually that you're a 16-month-old baby and your sibling is 3 years old and has better motor skills and can do things. And this is something that, we create as children. We create all these beliefs, and obviously when you work with me one-on-one, we go through them and we understand them on an intimate level as we're choosing our end result, that we have this we're wounded through individualization. And this is where we disconnect from our superconscious. We disconnect from our divine spark. And that is when we create our identity. And our emotions that we link to those beliefs and our identity are created around this time. So when a situation happens later in life and we have to feel an emotion, it is attached to an event, an identity, a belief system. There is an original event, there is an identity that is attached. Maybe it's one where we make it, like where we've talked about failure and success structures. It's when maybe you feel less than, you don't feel capable, maybe you don't feel worthy, you feel unseen. it's that you don't trust the world, you will attach that and that feeling, and there'll be emotions that are attached to it. Maybe shame, guilt, depression, maybe it's desire, unresolved desire, apathy, manipulation, or feeling hard done by, or whatever that emotion is attached to an identity, how you see the world, because that same event may happen to someone else and they will see it differently. They'll feel differently. They won't have the same emotions that you do in that time. And this is how the superconscious helps us shift and transcend and become emotional masters. Our emotions are there to indicate how we see the world. If how we see the world is not aligned to our end result, well, there'll be inner conflict. And it will also be a time where we can actually choose different. We can consciously, from the superconscious space, decide to change and choose to see things differently. And we do that through Recode. We do that through conscious awareness, and we can understand, and we can do that through working in the body where the emotions sit, where there's pain, where there's a wounded feeling, where there's, the other thing to remember is it's not only painful emotions that are kept in the body. Elevated and high frequency emotions such as love, joy, acceptance, courage are all kept in the body also. We have access to those. So it's not just negative emotions. And to understand that negative emotions are actually, we need 3 elevated emotions to counteract a negative emotion, because that negative emotion, we will remember times in our life when something bad happened. Like people will remember where they were at September 11th, whether their fear, or they'll remember when a relative has died. They'll remember that phone call. They'll remember when they heard bad news. They'll remember exactly what time it was, where it was. They'll probably remember things like that. They won't necessarily remember what they had for breakfast 2 weeks ago or dinner. They won't remember that. Same as like if you go to this beautiful restaurant and you've had an amazing meal, that positive emotion, that memory, you'll remember it. We have memory. We have the ability to forget also, which is a good thing. We can forget that was our attachment, and we can create new links and memories to that. We can put emotions, attach it to new events, to new situations, so we can start navigating things through differently. For example, if someone is criticized at work, there'll be one person who will see that as motivating, or they can actually see the truth in that situation, that maybe it's their stuff, not my stuff, and I don't need to take that on board. Or that person will go into a spin and go into a whole story of self-loathing and feeling not good enough. And the emotions will affect them in that way. Emotions are a chemical reaction. Joe Dispenza talks about them as they're like addictions. Even if we have an emotional set point that we're used to feeling depressed, that becomes our balance. That becomes our balance point. So when we say, well, no, I want to feel, I'm in this situation, I want to feel this, you go up to the unconscious mind. It goes through all your past memories, experiences, how you see yourself, your identities, and go, oh, your emotional set point is anxiety. When you're in this situation, you feel anxious, you feel fear. So you go back to that. But when we go up to the superconscious and we can create, no, I can see this difference. This is about growth and expansion. I can now see it with optimism and acceptance and trust, because I have faith. So we can shift through that emotional set point. And I'll just check over to Facebook to see if there's any questions. There's not any questions there. If you want to join, I have put the link of the Zoom call in the message. But that's good. If you're watching the replay, this is good too. This is great information. Like I said, we're going to be doing a whole month and a 7-day intensive on emotional mastery. And we're going to go through our emotions, what they mean. We're going to go through the emotional scale. So I also want to share with you here is, if you can see that page, this is one of many images of Dr. David Hawkins' consciousness map or scale. So it comes into like what I call the vortex. And when we're in these lower frequency, and I'm not going to call them bad emotions because there are no bad emotions. They just is. There's low frequency, there's high frequency. There's contractionary, there's expansion. That's all there is. Nothing's bad. Our emotions are there to tell us how we see the world. And coming from a conscious place, you can then decide, do I want to see the world this way? Is this leading me to create a life that I love? Is this helping me get to my end result? If you're seeing a world that is unsafe, if you're seeing a world that you can't trust and have no faith, if you're coming from the identity of shame or that not enough, not capable, you will find it difficult to reach your end result where you are a person that is capable and is enough and has enough. So like I said, no bad emotions, just different frequencies. And we get to choose. If we're seeing the world from this place, then we can start to use our superconscious to change how we see the world. We can look at the belief structures around that have created these emotions. So when I talk about that Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about that we're addicted to emotions, when an event happens, when, for example, if we wake up in the morning and we go to work and something happens and we go back to a familiar feeling, maybe that feeling is pride, where you feel like, where you go into a place of, I'm not good enough, or, that it's like, don't tell me what to do, or you feel self-righteous indignation. You may go into a place of fear, that you're fearful of losing your job or fearful of, something happening. There's fear or grief around this event. If that is something that you feel every day, same with depression or anxiety, if you go into that place of panic, which panic and anxiety is an element of fear and not having faith in the future, not trusting the world. So you see the world as an unsafe place. So there is an event that, so that is an emotion that feels safe to you, because in your life, you know how to survive being anxious. There was a time when being wary of your environment kept you safe. So your unconscious mind knows how to be fearful, knows how to be anxious, knows how to be in that place because it's familiar, and it becomes addictive because that's your emotional set point. That's where you feel safe, because being in a place of love, optimism, excitement, and courage, ready to jump into the next chapter of your life, doesn't feel safe. Maybe it doesn't. So we need to shift that emotion that it does feel safe. We need to retrain the unconscious mind that it does feel safe for you to move into that next chapter of your life, for you to move into that next place, that your emotions. So we are still going to do a recode today. I want you to choose something from your choices. We can use one of the orientating choices, which are, I'll repeat them, to choose a life that I love, to choose the end result of a life that I love. I choose the end result of health and vitality. I choose the end result to be aligned to my true nature and purpose. And I choose the end result of being the dominant creative force of my life. So Choose one of those, or you may have a specific choice you want to work on. So I want you to think of a choice where you have a real emotional reaction to. So if you have your choices in front of you, I want you to go through and you can feel it in your body. What is something that you have an emotional reaction to? What are you reacting to? You know, when we become when we get into emotional mastery, which is self-mastery, when we're living consciously from a superconscious level, when we remember that we originally came from superconscious, that we can choose how we see the world, we can choose our perspective, we can let go of the conditioning that we've chosen in this lifetime and start choosing from a superconscious space. That's when we have created self-mastery. That is when we are truly living consciously, and when we truly become alchemists of our life, emotional alchemists. The other false premise I wanted to just bring up before we get started into the Recode is just to mention intuition. Intuition is not emotional. I think there's been a false premise that we need to navigate our life through our emotions, that our emotions help us navigate. If we're navigating through fear, if the lens that you see the world through is that the world isn't safe, or I can't trust people, or that I'm insignificant, then you will be navigating through the emotional set point of that. That's obviously not going to create the life that you love. So we need to shift our emotional set point. Our emotions help us navigate by understanding that's how we see the world. And if we want to see the world differently, then we need to reassess our beliefs, our identities, to feel differently about that situation. Our emotions can also help us navigate and show us how far away we are from where we want to be. If we're feeling shame or guilt, then you understand that that's attached to identity or an experience. That probably may not be true in this stage. If you're feeling anger is an emotion that can be very motivating, but it also can be contractionary. If you have shame about feeling anger, like a lot of women, we're not allowed to feel anger, we're not allowed to express anger. Consciously expressing anger is through action. Consciously expressing anger is through like positive action. How do I resolve, or what is the motivating factor that will move me out of this place? Anger can be very motivational, but you don't want to always be motivated by anger. You don't want to be motivated by shame or anger, or running away from the feeling. True self-mastery is moving towards, I want to feel love. I don't want to run away. I don't want to feel anger, so I'm running away from it, or will go into resentment or revenge. You're going to go, I want to feel love. I want to feel forgiveness. I want to feel optimism. I want to feel acceptance. That's what you're running towards, not running away. So that's when we talk about true choices. So when you're going through your true choices, I want you to, what reactionary emotion comes up? How can we navigate our life using our emotions, understanding that our emotions represent how we see the world, and how do we want to see the world? What are we running towards? What are we not running away from? This is how our emotions help us. They help us understand the wounded aspects of ourselves while we're still reaching for what we want, and knowing that we can have that, knowing that we're remembering that we are super conscious beings. So go through your true choices. Have a look. What feels reactionary? What brings up, maybe there's an emotion, or maybe there's a choice that feels fearful. Maybe it feels overwhelming. Maybe, there's an emotion attached to a choice that feels like it's keeping you stuck. And I want you to go through that and just choose one. I'm going to choose, for me today, is choosing to be the dominant creative force in my life. I'm choosing that because it brings us back that we are creators, The dominant creative force is taking responsibility for everything that's been in past. So we can't hold resentment, can't hold judgment, all emotions. The dominant creative force is that I'm choosing a life that I love. I am the dominant creator. I am choosing to see the world from a place of being powerful. That's being the dominant creative force. So choose a choice, one of your choices, and we'll get started. And I want you to think about that choice. And I want you to go, close your eyes, and we'll go through the normal practice of going into that end result. Going into that end result, feeling aligned. Feeling into that space. What does it feel like to be, as I said, I'm using the dominant creative force. What does it feel like to be the dominant creative force in your life? Does it feel powerful? Does it feel like you've taken responsibility, that there's an element of control, an element of pride, pride in a good way. Pride, I'm really happy with myself. I've got this, that feeling of, I've got this sorted. You feel safe, you trust, you have faith. What does it feel like to be in that end result? So we're going into that recode. We're tapping into that superconscious. We're creating those 2 points in time. The 2 points in time. This is where I want to be. This is where I am. They both exist at the same time, and we're collapsing the space in between, the resistance that prevents us from moving there. And today we're looking at the emotional resistance. Today we're looking at the emotional resistance. So how do you want to feel in that end result? How do you want to feel? How do you feel when you know that you've created what you want to create? What's the feelings? What the emotions that you feel in that end result? So really get clear, because the emotions is your frequency. How do you feel in that end result? Okay, and I want you to write them down. If you don't have a pen and paper and you're just listening to that, that's fine. Imagine in your mind's eye the emotions, write the emotions down, and as if you're putting them in a bubble, this is where I'm going, this is how I'm going to feel. This is my new emotional set point. And I want you to really feel into that emotion. What does it feel like to feel love for yourself? What does it feel like to feel powerful? What does it feel like to feel really proud of yourself, really, really, really great? You feel secure, you have faith, to have absolute trust in what you're creating. Trust that it's going to show up. Trust in your ability. Trust that you're safe to be seen. And now I want you to come back, open your eyes, come back to the current state. And I want you to think about this end result, but how does it feel now? What are the emotions that show up about this choice now? What is it? It's overwhelm. Maybe there's a little bit of fear. Maybe there's some grief. Maybe there's feeling of unresolved desire, which is like, why is it happening for everyone else and not me? That feeling of self-righteous indignation that I deserve. It's not happening for me. I've done it. It's not happening. And there's frustration. What does it feel like in the current state that you're different from the end result? What does it feel like? What's the emotion? Where is that emotion in the body? Where do you feel it? And so we're going to create these 2 points in time. We've created that emotion, the difference in emotions. This is how I want to be. This is where I'm at. And superconscious, please collapse the resistance of the feeling. And we're just going to go over that metaphor. So the superconscious field is a football field. And as we're running towards that end result of feeling how we want to feel in that end, in that desired end result, that feeling of pride, joy, of excitement, power, being powerful, safety, just optimism, faith, trust, as we're running towards that end result and how you feel in that end result. Potholes show up of events and things and other emotions, overwhelm, fear, grief, unresolved desire, self-righteous indignation, frustration. All these emotions start showing up and prevent you from moving forward. And we're going to say, superconscious, please acknowledge and see this resistance. And we're going to ask superconscious just to brush dirt with a feather, just lightly brush those dirt into those potholes so you have a clear playing field. We are now moving from feeling emotionally tied to the past to having wisdom, no longer having those emotions dictating how we see this end result or these choices that we're making. And we're now going to see it through the eyes of wisdom, through the higher mind, through superconscious mind. So I want you now to close your eyes, feel into that superconscious. Do you see this end result? Do you see all the resistance around this end result? Do you see the original event that caused this resistance, the original event? Superconscious, please go back to the original event and do a massive change history and everything else that's needed in the best and perfect way. Superconscious, see the emotion that was taught through this event. Please tag the identity that was created through this event. And superconscious, please align this to the end result and do a massive change history and everything else that's needed in the best and perfect way. And around this event is what is the belief structure that was created? What was the belief structure? Was it treat the belief structure of not feeling worthy? Please treat that in the best and perfect way. And please treat the belief structure that was created about being insignificant or invisible. That belief structure around feeling insignificant and invisible, please treat that in the best and perfect order. Superconscious, please imprint the new emotions for this event. New elevated high frequency emotions of trust, joy, optimism, acceptance, love. Please bring in these higher frequency emotions. Please treat this in the best and perfect order. Thank you. Superconscious, please treat the emotion of fear on all levels, on all timelines. And please treat this with the aspect of courage and bring in the emotion of courage. And the discernment to know how to see this event differently. Superconscious, please bring in the superconscious wisdom and the discernment to know how to see this situation differently. Please do this in the best and perfect order. Thank you. Superconscious, can we look at all the emotions? Can we bundle all the emotions that are causing resistance to this end result? On all timelines, can we tag them? The emotions that cause resistance, that are causing resistance. Do we need to name them? No. Please tag them for each individual person who's listening to this call. And please treat them in the best and perfect way. Be able to see them through the eyes of superconscious, to see the higher perspective. Please treat the relationship between the event and the emotion, the triggering event and the emotion. Please treat this in the best and perfect way. And superconscious, can we please feel where there's emotion in the body? Where is this emotion? Where's this resistance? Please treat the sacral chakra and the root chakra. Please treat front and back. Allow energy to move freely. Please treat the heart chakra. Any contraction area where the heart's been closed, to be able to allow in love and to be able to receive this information. Please treat the heart chakra front and back. Superconscious, please treat all secondary intentions. Please treat all secondary intentions. And please treat the emotion and belief about belonging, about the family, about family history and entanglement, this family history of how to see the world from a certain perspective. Please treat this on mother, father, 4 generations back, how we see the world, that you are safe, that you belong. And please anchor in that, I belong. I belong to my family, even if I see the world from a different perspective, even if I am flying at a different trajectory of love, joy, that I'm seeing the world through the eyes of love, that I'm seeing that the world can be one of magic and creation, and knowing, can we please treat the resistance of not belonging to the family? Please treat this in the best and perfect way. Thank you. Let's feel into our body. Do you feel any denseness? Like, that's how I describe it. Or if there's any maybe pain, or maybe there feels like there's something in the body where it's stuck, please focus this attention to that place. Superconscious, please treat that place in the body in the best and perfect way. Thank you. Allow transmutation to occur with love, sending unconditional love to that place, to move into transmutation, to move into that end result, being able to see emotions through the eyes of wisdom and not through self-conscious identity. Please treat this in the best and perfect way. Thank you. Superconscious, please treat all chakras and energy systems, muscle memory, organs. Please treat them in the best and highest way. Thank you. Take a deep breath in and out. Feel into your body. If you still feel some resistance and you're watching the replay, just press pause and move through that resistance, allowing superconscious to channel unconditional love into the physical on all levels. Please treat that in the best and perfect order. Thank you. If you're moving through with me now, superconscious, please treat all remaining resistance and obstacles to this end result. Please treat them in the best and perfect order. Please anchor and ground all memories that we've touched on today, conscious, unconscious, superconscious, tandem, quantum, ancestral, past life, future memories, past memories, memories 1, 2, and 3. conscious, unconscious, superconscious. Please ground them into the benevolent matrix of the physical universe. Thank you. It is done. It is done. Please treat and ground positive emotions into this new way, this new plane, this new way of being, training our mind to feel this love, joy, optimism, trust, faith. Please treat and ground all elevated emotions that we've worked on today. Please treat all identities. Allow them to know that, to remember where they came from. Please treat all identities to let them know that one personality works best, the conscious creator. Remembering that you are an expression of the divine, and anchoring that you came here from that place of unlimited information. Please treat all remaining resistance and ground the positive, elevated new memories into the physical plane. Thank you. Put your hand on your stomach, your hand on your heart. Feel grounded in your feet. Take a deep breath in. Out and let it all go. Let it calibrate in your body. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. I hope you enjoyed today's session. Replay it if you will. If there feels like there's still some resistance in there, go back into your end result and feel what it feels like to be in there. Feel the emotions. Anchor them emotions into your present day. Remember, you must be it before you can see it. To be, from that place of being, you will know what to do, and then having will come to realization. So feel into that emotion. Feel into that emotion today. Step it forward into your day or into your evening with that elevated emotion of your end result. I love you. Have a beautiful day. I look forward to seeing you soon, and I'm excited, as we all are in the Creator Sphere space, to share this journey, our emotional mastery journey with you. Okay, bye.